Yep.
All right. Well, hey, everybody.
Oh, take this one with me.
Excited to get into this topic. And for those of you guys watching online, either you are someone who's not with us today, November 11, 2024, or you are onboarding for our team at some point in the future. But I think this is kind of a crucial lesson. Like new team members, we'll keep this. We don't have any new team members yet, no. But for the future day when somebody joins us. The topic is about making authentic exhibitions. And I would love to start with this discussion. In your experience, like what happens the longer kids stay in traditional school environments and why?
Their dreams die. And they're like less motivated to learn X, Y, and Z because they're being spoon-fed information. It's not what they want to learn, but that's why their dreams die.
You've seen that?
Yeah.
Yeah. Sure. Yeah. Thanks for sharing. What have y'all noticed in your experience?
They become obsessed with learnings, learnings.
A lot of the questions that I've heard learners like that say are, okay, but is this on the test? And they decide whether or not they're going to engage, be invested on whether or not it will affect their grade.
Yeah. Which exemplifies what? Like what's underneath that? You think?
A lack of seeing value, their relevance on topic.
Yeah.
And the system in some way.
Very interesting.
Well, our little guys, they look at, we're not in for sure that, but I can see it with my kids, like I can, one of the biggest thing was they would view certain things a certain way, as if it was the only way to do something, or to understand it, or to, receive it.
That's interesting.
And it's very hard to like push back or, on that.
A little inflexible, closed-minded in some ways, even though they're successful in some narrow.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
That's interesting.
Yeah, I would agree with that, and also sort of related, just not really wanting to explore that much. Once they figure out an answer or the answer to a question, they're like, okay, I'm done with this forever, that's it.
Yeah.
They don't really explore things all that much.
It's good. In terms of what we know, in addition to our own experience, like what we know from surveys, from research, from studies, that are legit, like where there's a great sample size and we're like asking a bunch of kids from a bunch of different school environments over time. Bunch of different kinds of kids, different backgrounds. There's high boredom. According to the National Association of Independent Schools study, 83% of high school students report frequent boredom, largely due to uninteresting material. Just let that soak in for a minute. 83% of high schoolers in the United States in this study. And these are independent schools, which are meant to be like, captivating. Declining engagement, cognitive engagement drops as students advance, with older students finding less value in learning. So kind of to your point, Lana, just, hey, is it on the test or not? It's not like the critical thinking, it's more just like, what do I need to know to get out of here? Low relevance, nearly half of students feel their schoolwork lacks real world relevance, making engagement challenging. Compliance over commitment, let me just get it done, so I can get out of here. That's why kids celebrate, a lot of why kids in this nation celebrate graduating. They're like, I'm out of here. It's not because they're proud of their accomplishments. Only about 20% of students feel genuinely committed to learning, with most showing mere compliance. Frequent disengagement, around 60% of high schoolers consistently feel disengaged, citing boredom and irrelevance as primary causes. And the answers kind of highlight this, but there's a lot of different reasons why this is the case in our nation's schools. But the number one reason cited in most of these studies, you know what it is? but. Like you said?
No, I was just reading through them. How did that relevant?
Yeah, studies show that students often feel that school material doesn't connect to real issues or their future goals. Students see much of their schoolwork as unrelated to life after school, which reduces intrinsic motivation. What does this make you think, feel, or wonder? Will you share that with the person on your team? Amber, you're on Maria's team.
I wonder what their future goals are, why they think it doesn't connect. And, you know, does it, does it not, or maybe. And, you know, if they wanted to find things that were relevant to their concerns and values and plans, do they, you know, or to find that information, you know? Like, how do people navigate that problem? Or do they, they're just like, you know, they're kind of just like. Just sort of like. I don't know, like, okay, just no.
It's weird, interesting discovery to be had. What is it?
All right, thank you all. Any thoughts that kind of came up in your conversation you thought this group should, you want to share with this group?
This makes me wonder about our curriculum map when we are creating it from the beginning, because we do it the year before, the end of the year. Instead of thinking about what we want them to learn, finding the problems first. And then putting those in as, okay, if this is the problem, how can we fit this in our quest this year, in our SEAs this year? Because I feel like we go backwards because we have the design, but now we got to find the problem that goes along with it to solve. So could we think about it in the reverse maybe?
Great thought. That would be advanced player mode for a guy. Any other thoughts?
I wondered what it would look like to pull the data, especially from the higher, from middle and high, on youth science, skills, aptitudes, career potentials. Usually share that in the studio somewhere. That way we as guys can like reference, like, for this quest, look at how many % of the studio actually has skills in this area and could use this information. And then that might be cool. And then my other wondering is like, how often do we, maybe we point out the relevance, how often do we have them summarize or remind themselves in writing, like, today's challenge was relevant because I, can see this skill coming from my life in this way. It's sort of like throughout
Yeah,
the year.
that's very cool. And I'll just commit to y'all, if as a guide, if any of y'all are interested in doing that and pulling their data, printing it out, putting in a notebook for your studio, I would devote my assistant's time to doing that. She could mail it in. Just, all I need to know, y'all just say, tell me when, and I'll get her to work. Other thoughts?
Think about change and like the fear of change. It's like for so long, we've been in the same system. But now we're seeing a change, like why do we now care about what kids feel and think? What change there? So those dates are like 2000, 2023.
Yeah, when I was in high school, Cheryl Crum was one of my favorite teachers, but I would sleep in her class because it was so boring, and she became known for spraying me with water bottle from like real far. And she would twit, because she would do it for her overhead projector, you know what I'm talking about? Don't remember that?
Yes.
And then she would change the angle, she'd be like, Tyler, wake up. This was calculated. Because, you know, for me, it was like, if I perceived that I understood what she was talking about, put my head on my desk and I'm done, you know? So I just, personally, I hate being bored, personally. And then now as a dad, and a school leader, having seen all the engaging learning environments that we have created and that other schools have created, and getting as old as I am, I just have no patience. I mean, I really don't have patience for like boring learning. It's like, oh, I've seen too much, you know? And it doesn't have to be that way. It just doesn't have to be that way. And so today, we're building off of a lesson that we did on. That was weird.
That might be my child. She's in.
Okay. For those of you watching online, we just had a little bit of a ghost moment. But we're all still here. Yeah, so again, my role this year with these team meetings is to provide some training, and today's training comes from one of the courses that I teach at the University of Pennsylvania on making project-based learning authentic. And so we're really looking very specifically today at making an authentic exhibition, which is relevant. So we got exhibitions coming up. In fact, we still have 5 more, right, for the school year. And my hope is that you all become the kind of guys that can consistently design truly relevant, authentic exhibitions. And so I want to talk about the characteristics of that. But I want to offer it up as a sacrificial proposal. If you don't like my list and you think something should be added, I'm open. The first is like every learner at an exhibition has a real role, an authentic role, something that is not made up by some educator, but it actually mirrors, you know, something that happens in the real world outside of the school environment, you know, so that there's relevance. The second is this authentic work. When I say that, I mean, you know, something that is done by a professional or by a person outside of the school, that adds value to the world. You know, it's truly authentic work. It's not made up, you know. An example of made up work would be something that's not useful and something that's not done by professionals outside of a school setting. But educators traditionally can come up with a lot of work that is truly not authentic, and it's just for the walls of the school, and it dies in the walls of the school. That's not you know, whatever you imagine a lesson, whatever lesson is coming to your mind, that's what I'm talking about as inauthentic work. The third one would be expert feedback. You know, it's one thing to get advice from us and feedback from us, but it's much different to get advice from somebody who's actually doing that work on a day-to-day basis, right? The fourth is that the work helps a public audience, not parents, not guides, and not learners, but someone else. Like someone in the community, some professional, some school partner, are being helped by the work that students are doing, so that they feel like, oh, this actually makes a difference, you know. Also that the messaging of all of the above to heroes, parents, and staff is consistent, you know. So like everybody knows from the very beginning, the learners know it, the parents know it, the staff know it. Everybody knows, like, here's the authentic role, here's the authentic work, here's the experts that are involved, here's, you know, who it's meant to help, you know, well, TBD if we're gonna see it. And then lastly, like, parents get to watch the magic at exhibition. parents aren't necessarily being presented to that exhibition per se. They're watching the magic, they're watching learners do something real for somebody who needs help. You okay?
Quietly, I've been choking to death.
So that would be the major, I'm offering up this as the major components of an authentic exhibition. Would you add anything to this list? To deepen our understanding of it, can you think of any truly, according to this criteria, can you think of any truly authentic exhibitions? Whether they're here for us or elsewhere, that you're like, oh yeah, that was real. In your opinion?
thing I would add is like audience feedback maybe, and feedback. At the exhibition, we get that, something like that.
Would you guys be opposed if I said parents watch the magic, parents and visitors watch the magic and give feedback? Does that capture what you're saying?
Yeah.
Any oppositions to that?
I also wondered about the every single learner speaks, like every, that's important.
So yeah, maybe, what about for authentic role and work? Or maybe I just say total 100% participation or, um. Good. Can you think of it? Truly authentic exhibitions that meet these criteria? That we've done, that you've seen someone else do?
Two, well, I can think of y'all's golf cart path. It was a real role. They were trying to put it up together. So they had authentic work. I don't know about 100% participation. But all the others, I feel like that. The roller coaster. They were in a role. It hit all of those. Architecture, quest from the very beginning. Bridge.
We had went on like creating ice cream, and we had like an actual ice cream store owner come and see if they wanted to like make whatever flavors, yeah.
Love these ideas. What I want to invite you into with me for a minute is a level of scrutiny to each one of to a few exhibitions that we've done, including some of the ones that you just named, against these criteria. So what I've called this slide is like some pretty darn authentic exhibitions, but nearly, if you stack them up against this criteria. The first one for me that came to my mind, and again, this is just how I make sense of it, okay? So haunted house, incredible quest, massive win for the school, tons of work. There was an authentic role. Writers, set designers, all the roles, they were all real. Authentic work, I mean, they did a legit public, haunted house that made money. It helped public audience, like visitors came to that, not just parents. Like people were enjoying Halloween by coming to this haunted house. It was like they were getting amusement and recreating recreational activity, right? The messaging was solid for that, and then parents, most of them walked through it, paid to do it. The thing that was missing on this criteria is they actually didn't get at the end the expert feedback. Like we had Bill was in Germany, he was our expert. We didn't have a haunted house expert walk through the final thing. And they didn't get to benefit from that, you know what I mean? And again, that doesn't take away from the experience at all. It just doesn't meet, if we're gonna really look at the scrutiny and detail, it doesn't meet, all the criteria.
I don't. We didn't get them back.
That's, yeah.
They were there, prop people, yeah, they did, but we didn't get them back.
Yep, so there you go, yeah, so it's like,
Yeah.
all those prop people, I think that Joe B, her feedback was like, I mean, she had, but she's not like a Bill.
Yeah,
Even the prop people aren't like Bill, they
Yeah.
don't make, I mean, prop, that's important feedback from a props person, but like, that's not their business, so I think, but it's a good point, almost, you know? Another one is, I would say what did we call it, the space astronaut one from last year?
Astro engineering?
Astroengineering, I couldn't remember the title, that to me was almost, I mean, that was so good, like, they were engineers. They were doing authentic work, they were mirroring the Artemis project, that's real. They got unbelievable feedback from an expert, some of the best feedback I've ever heard, the messaging was consistent, parents watched the magic, here, and remember, the expert was on Zoom, he was in Texas, but the work didn't help anybody. I mean, if we're honest, right, like, it was just an idea, we're ideas. Like, that guy that we presented to, like, he's not working on that project right now, he's retired, So it's not helping anybody, that's okay, again, not to take away from it, it was incredible, everything I'm naming here is a win. I'm just bringing a level of scrutiny to it that I wanna invite you into for the moment. Does that resonate, how I make sense of it? Another one, I would actually name golf cart. I actually think for some learners who went to City Hall, it was actually completely authentic. But not everybody made it to City Hall, So they were consultants, they were urban planners, they were doing the work of an urban planner. They presented to Fayetteville City Council with the mayor. The messaging was solid. But we only, and again, I was part of this decision making, like, we only let 3 groups go and present to the city council because that's all they had time for. So a bunch of middle and high schoolers, they just pitched and presented in school and not for a real world audience outside of school. And so they didn't benefit from the expert feedback. And we brought in some folks to give them, but it wasn't city council members that we brought in, And then the parents of those learners who didn't make it, they didn't get a chance to see, that exhibition, right? So it wasn't like fully consistent. So I'm just bringing the level of scrutiny again, that's pretty nuanced here. Any comments or questions so far?
that was kind of one of my questions, thinking about the expert feedback. Is that ever okay for it to be a small group that's getting like the winners, the top 3 whoever win, if the rest of the studio is invited to hear what's going on?
Great question. What do y'all think? Good.
So if we're talking about like authentic exhibition, it's different. I don't know, because it's like, it's not that they didn't get expert feedback.
Yeah,
Not
right.
class,
Yeah.
but that we're saying they need to get that exhibition that would be flat. If it was just, we have process, yeah.
Which leads me to, are you gonna say something? Ray?
Yeah.
Which leads me to what I'm calling the authenticity hall of fame. In my opinion, some quests that are some exhibitions that are so authentic, they forever go down in forced school history to date. One for me would be Garden or Seedify. And let me just actually, y'all did that, right? Walk me through this. Walk us through the bullet points. Like, can you? I got you. You correct me if I'm wrong then. So they were consultants for either Trillium or for the Fayette City Council. That was their role. They were doing urban planning. They were building a garden. And then is Seedify the same thing as garden? Okay, yeah. I couldn't remember the title. They got expert feedback. Half the group all of them got it from the council members themselves in that meeting. The other half got it from Rob Parker and Jake Pittman in person, So they got everybody, 100% got expert feedback at the exhibition. The work helped the public audience, it helped the council, and then it helped Trillium. And like literally, I picked something from that garden recently and cooked it in a pie, So like that's real and it's helping people. The messaging was dope, and then parents watched. I mean, you all remember Jake being here at school in the old building, like everybody got to see that. And then all parents came to when this is a freaking Hall of Famer. Any pushback on that? Here's another one, golf roller coaster. Amber, let's go, walk us through that, Amber, this was yours.
Ooh, this one was fun. So they were engineers and we were in touch with the fun spot, so they got to design the roller coasters. They got expert feedback from the engineers, manager up there, the marketing team that were there at Fun Spot. The public audience was Fun Spot, of course, we presented there at the location, so the parents got to see it, got to be involved. It was cool, and now the actual roller coaster is there, which is
Yep.
really cool, like 3 years later or so. It's
Air
actually-
Force One.
Yep.
Pretty dope. For me, it's a Hall of Famer for me. Hall of Famer for me, those two. You know, I try to think of a third one. I couldn't, I'm sure there is one. I asked Caleb, who couldn't think of one. Y'all might, any others? Can you think of one that maybe should be a Hall of Famer that meets all these criteria?
Side. Where they design, or they brought in experts to make their business better. One was like the.
Machine learning. Machine learning,
Oh,
it
sure was.
yeah, where Lonnie helped us, Sugar.
Yeah. And they were trying to like make their business more
Yeah.
profitable or.
Yeah,
She's
oh,
like-
yeah, cause they
but-
did.
I mean,
the
I think that's a good one.
thing, I remember that, yeah.
I think that is I think this actually meets all the criteria. Will you tell them what happened? I can help.
Yeah, so Lottie or Lonnie.
Lonnie,
So, previous parent helped us build that one, and so it was machine learning, basically looking at like the back end of how to code kind of. And so they had to come up with, an idea that was gonna help a business solve a problem that they had. So one of them, what's that clothing store that sells?
And it's in Peachtree City, they still use one of the algorithms Caleb made.
Yeah. And so basically, they helped solve a problem, whatever problem they had, they helped solve for it.
So it's different problems depending on what company it was.
Yeah. There's a couple different businesses.
I think it was a t-shirt. so.
yep. That's a good one. Yeah, they looked at metadata and came up with algorithms to like make sense of that data and predict, they use machine learning to predict future trends for those businesses. They only got a surface level understanding of, machine learning through that quest, but it was impressive. That's a great one. Let me ask you all this. How do authentic, given these criteria, how do authentic exhibitions benefit heroes, in your opinion?
Gives them a sense of accomplishment because there's something concrete that comes out of their work.
I don't know what the wording is for this, but it gives them more weight to what they're doing, like, you know, they feel more responsibility behind what they're presenting if it's real world. and not just-
Maybe it helps them discover skills they didn't know they had, or like introduce them to fields they might not have explored otherwise. Possible careers.
I don't know how to word it, but relationships, like Noah is still in contact with the Peachtree City owner. He was just down there catching up with them, asking about the business.
No doubt,
Mhm.
that's a good one. Others?
They get to see like the actual real world meaning behind what they're doing.
So it's like solidifying their abilities and skills and things. When they get to work on these real world authentic roles, they get to practice public speech, they get to practice. So.
It's good. What about school? How do authentic exhibitions, if you sort of look at it from the school, our organization, how does it benefit the school?
I mean, I think it's a great kind of showcase of knowledge for parents to see, like, what is my learner doing here? Just that part.
Also building community connections as well.
Sorry, deep for recovery.
I'd add increased raving fans.
Keep our stakeholders grounded.
What about this one? How do authentic exhibitions benefit the staff?
Oh, they
You will.
stretch you out your comfort zone. You don't know anything about.
Machine learning, I was like, what are they talking about? Teach me, please.
It makes the work interesting, you know, in like a traditional setting, if you're just making worksheets and stuff, that's like really, really boring as a school employee, so. Makes work a lot more interesting than it can be.
I guess it makes you proud of your work too, like when it pulls itself together, it's like, oh, all that work is challenging work.
I think building network too is helpful, for sure, experts or something.
It helps our relationships with experts, possible apprenticeship connections, like that increased visibility.
I think too, it probably gives the staff some, connectivity points as we talk about, hey, do you know somebody in this area? You know, so it helps everybody to think about what's going on in other studios.
I would add something around, I see this from where I sit. I'm not sure how to word it, but it would be around developing your own knowledge, craft, and skills as professionals. Like, these are sought after skills. You know, it's one thing to interview a prospective educator who has taught. And it's another thing to interview a prospective educator who has experience with authentic, real world, project-based learning. And that's the next level. And it's where a lot of the field is trying to get to, and a lot of teachers in this country are so frustrated at the barriers that exist for them to be able to get here. So I think it positions us as sought after. So now the challenge. What do you need? What do you need to add, subtract, change to your exhibition plans for it to reach Hall of Fame status? I'm gonna give you time with your team, and I want you to prepare to share and evaluate. I'm gonna, don't stress, go fast. I'm gonna put 9 minutes on the clock. Any questions?
Can we see the
It's like.
rubric?
Yeah, let me see the revised one. I like what y'all did here. And there is the revised one. That's the checklist with the two that y'all added. Parents and leaders giving feedback, and then every learner speaking 100% participation.
Yeah, any of those.
All right, 9 minutes starts now. Good luck.
Okay, sharing that, I think it goes to like a second.
Well, I imagine a consultant would be doing like.
So sharing that upfront. Authentic words. You're seeing that in the. Right. Basically, right, like a very much.
Yeah.
You can do.
And water testing is a real thing that people do. Like, yeah, we do that to figure out.
But no choose, so make it,
The water.
so
Is,
it's for them. And then they'll, then we work,
request, which is lab report at. Next piece, we have that expert feedback. So what Amber and I were gonna ask her, what is the over topics, really cover the feedback. Fridays. Especially the general feedback. At the end, their shares. And the way that. That's not always like that.
Mhm.
So, everyone give expert feedback, we do something.
That's all.
Therapy.
We should go just doing, because this is just for it.
And
yes, our city.
Yeah, no, it's a part.
right,
And they'll be able to share their
that's
findings.
that happens in the intro, kind of has happened.
Yeah,
He's the source of personal magic. We see that because they're seeing the proposals.
I mean, I guess we could, like, but.
Do you think that is going to be good for introducing or fighting to hold on for the voter?
Mhm.
Well, so but even so,
Better for the
they're,
learners. I think it'd be more important that I explain the role of the work, so that it's clear.
this is in the beginning about life sizing.
Or sharing.
Oh,
Findings.
Like, then you have to, you just throwing things like. Right. I mean, it's not, you know, right, right.
I think that's what
Well,
it is.
it's like, or not, it's not the summaries.
They were like really.
Think the last is. I feel like the first, maybe we should know, I shouldn't, it's all girl, but I feel like they have lots of data. You know. You know, it's that was we could help, you know, going out to get grounded, you know, grass and like.
Yeah, really clear.
Well, and how does it help a public audience? Yeah, for the.
Doesn't always
Yeah.
give the time.
Yeah.
To like present.
So. Wait, my kids are out, probably wonder.
Oh, look, that was. No, I have to, yeah, so we create a combination.
What the? Oh, no, it's really fun, it's, they did a good job sharing.
These are like actual things, but it is. And we can publish on it. This is like our show to help make sure any other kid learn or something like that. So maybe that's fun fact lab.
Maybe this is, they have, like. Something about that.
We could
Their
take
findings
their,
from the lab,
you know, stuff like
cards, and then the other could share
pictures, maybe kind of like they create.
all the class. Their interactions with so far. The journey.
You know, I think we're missing out on authentic
Here's where we
information.
started.
Here's what we did with Zoom.
We got started that.
Yeah, let's think about. The ultimately,
Yeah.
is how
I think.
amazing, like, life. The one, the haunted house, but that, regardless of what it was, and the environment, I mean,
Yeah.
right? And there's so many quests that you're like totally. Bought into, right, because of the way it flows, the way it all worked out, the way it was smooth, it wasn't confusing, it wasn't so completely flawless.
So
that
will
would
get,
be
but for the
really
UX
cool.
experience, it would use
Yes.
it, maybe not need to add that.
That is it. Or something, right? Because it could be so amazing and hit all those things that I'm like, that was the first one. It's okay. And that was really great. Yeah. And there's, I was going to what did she have on? I was sitting on my shoe. Pull my eyes out, because the exhibition was born. But see, that's a huge thing, right? We should add.
Did you feel like that? I mean, how the work I added,
The machine learning.
Yes.
And so then we need to add, we need to add.
Was born except for just the exhibition, the quest throughout, because the exhibition last.
Time. We think about it.
Let's see if I can we need to add this.
Six.
Yeah, we need to add user experience up there.
The budget.
And I think about it with, those boards, in the beginning, high school, y'all get, got it. Because it was set up like they had the lights, so put you in the movie, on that. Yes. One thing Maria and I thought about to the.
Sure.
That was
Yeah,
that
one.
lady, Drew Moore, the choker.
Is there another one?
The one that probably sent him and what's that?
We don't know how to say it, but this user experience, like thinking about that for the, in the checklist part, the flow of the night, what it looks like and feels like in the space.
Did
So
I
that-
leave excited or did I like?
About that. All right, time's up. Freddie and Leah, you guys have 2 minutes to share your exhibition plans with Trey and Lon. You guys have 2 minutes to
Yeah.
bring the same level of scrutiny that I did and walk through this checklist and give them your feedback, and then switch. So 4 minutes per, and then I'll get with y'all too.
So we're splitting off into two groups.
Yep, y'all, and then me and Maria and Amber. Sound good? All right, I'll be the timekeeper. 4 minutes starts. As soon as you guys get snuggled up.
Oh, okay, that explains it.
Weekend, it was like a marathon.
We have 2 minutes.
And.
All right, ready, y'all?
They couldn't step in the bus, they were prep, you know. we
Oh,
never-
what?
Actually, can one of y'all be the timekeeper 4 and 4?
Oh, boy.
I'll just get 8
Wait,
minutes.
2 minutes or 4 minutes?
So 4 minutes each. I would go 2, 2, 2, 2. All right, go.
So it is on 4 minutes. That's not bad. Okay, it's going. So what?
So that'll be their work. They're gonna actually do their work, so they're gonna learn all about the fun, and they're doing that, they have works about.
Yep. I'm listening.
Yep. Every single learner has to make a bug, research that bug, create that bug. Feedback, we have our, that was the only tricky thing is our experts aren't coming to exhibition, we have experts coming into the students. And then, or then there's other things, there's another thing that, at the end, we can potentially like, snapshot picture of all their bugs, but then all of their facts, like, do a compilation of a children's with all of a sudden, we just find out. And then the kids just go, and then I, then come there, then, what, 8 years ago. Messaging. All the staff. And what we, this is what our information, we will have. Everybody signs up for something. Messaging around. Table, and so it'll be that solid user experience. Creating that community, we're all together. Kids are sharing all their findings, all their files, all their bugs as we're sharing the that one. And then that is the parents, visitors, being there, and we hope that the experience is also amazing. And they'll just be sharing together, and the kids get to share everything you have learned, discovered, and the financial roles. Sure.
Nice.
I think, I mean, yeah, I think the biggest thing will really, we don't have as much feedback.
For to make the Hall of Fame, that's.
Yeah.
Yes.
We're talking Hall of Fame.
No. And the other thing that's hard for us is what we really wish that's for, everybody, the public voice. And how, what we're doing, what we're putting together for the public. But I don't know, come in, or we could organize something that we could talk about, we'll be trying to stand up and get them to that, so not to put pesticide on grass and more things to kill our bugs and it's like. Yeah. So, potentially. Yeah.
Contributing physically by.
Cool. Have so you've given your feedback, right?
No.
Go for it.
So, when we talked through it, we talked about the experts, it makes me wonder if during that time, you're sitting at the table, if you were able to get experts, that they be at the table, in certain.
Or helps them. Yeah, well, we could definitely invite our experts. Yes. Yeah, we use one of our experts and why I think to definitely come up what would and listen more. Show.
Overall, I wonder about that, I wonder if we're asking questions. By people that like sitting at a table, and how they know. And then not saying we're having a lot of shit on my show.
Yeah, so every kid will either have like a flashcard with their bags or their search on. The idea is basically to, not like faster, but authentically, no. So once that information is something that they find quite interesting, they'll be.
Yeah.
But what about the parent role? Like, so you know, you know, right? What do you think would be prompts or something? And questions and make sure.
No, I mean, no, it'll more or less be like. What, of like, the parents.
Yeah.
It's like, you have to use a pen.
So, for me, authentic role, I'm gonna go through check box. I would check authentic role.
Right, right.
Because they're entomologists. I would check authentic work because entomologists do research.
Yeah.
100% participation, that's how you structure it.
Yeah.
You know,
Or.
expert feedback, I would not check that box because I did hear about an entomologist being in the room that day, giving them all feedback. I don't think that's totally responsible for Chris, buddies, whoever else. And Jacob did this with somebody, like entomologists that they consult around here, they don't know. Helping the public audience, I would not check that, yet, I'm almost into that, like, I think a book, if there's a group that needs to be educated about it, like that's, they tell us to do that, because I understand. And they raise awareness, they educate, who needs that, you know? 'Cause sometimes we just make up stuff, like who really, I'm sure there's people that need that kind of education, like, so it's a question of who. I mean, other ways technologists help, you know, public gardens, agriculture, you know, is this bug that damage my crops? Public health, spreading diseases, environmental protection, preserving biodiversity. So anyway, there's ideas there. I just don't think that was checked yet. I think it could be, messaging, I don't know. Actually, I'm not close enough to the messaging, like the blogs. Did the learners know all this from day one? From week one, I mean, did parents, did staff? If they did, then I think that I would check that. If they did not, and the learners have not, I would not check that. I think parents, I would check the next one. I think they're gonna watch, you know, the kids do stuff. And then I don't think there's a user now, so I would check that bottom. A user would be somebody with a problem, that the kids are helping, you know. Like if in fact you identified a group of people that needed education in a sex, you know, like preschool number, you know, whatever, like,
Oh, really?
then I think if they were there and their experience of that night, you know, that's what would make me check that. That's kind of how I react to it.
That on the very last, very last chat. Right. Is that right?
You would think everybody.
I was thinking that the experience
Yeah.
as.
Yeah.
The flow.
I see what you're saying. Yeah, I think it's important too. To me, that's not as connected to authenticity as it is to like just engagement, but.
It'll work, like responding real time to that, like the most seeing her. Yeah, she. Right, right.
Y'all have 1 minute.
So
Creative.
that's where we're actually did some more investments.
Before then, they, one last action will pass on to
Sample.
Yeah.
Well, that's.
Are they
so that's
still
what-
on that?
30 seconds.
Expert feedback, people, skills development survey,
Exactly.
That's interesting.
Yes, potentially. That's really about it. Yes. That's creative.
Originally, or nothing, wasn't feasible.
Oh, and they could read.
All right, guys, we're out of time, sorry. Let's circle back up again.
Okay.
All right, guys, we gotta.
But that was kind of my decision.
All right, y'all, welcome back. One quick point I want to make just before I give you this last couple questions as we wrap up here. It was interesting how I noticed the groups gravitate to the solid user experience and 100% participation. I think those are great, they're very important. Those to me are not, in my mind, they're not directly connected to authenticity as much as they are to just having a great experience and there being engaging for all. Because I think you can have an inauthentic experience where the parents, like, I think you can have inauthentic work where the parents, the user experience is great and everybody's talking. So I'm trying to get out with these criteria like authentic work, like real stuff that actually makes a difference. What I'd love you to do with your teammate, how did your thinking about exhibitions change as a result of our team meeting today? And what are the real takeaways, challenges, or wonderings that you're feeling? Will you share that with your teammate for just a minute?
I think that one thing that comes to mind is where our purposes sometimes. You know, we, you know, whether what they perform at exhibition or what they do, whether that's like realistic or like a real example of what they're studying. Maybe we can actually not prioritize that as much as other factors. So like, maybe we do think about, you know, what's practical for the audience and things like that, but maybe that's not as important. Isn't the only important thing. We think.
All right. Any sharings with the group? Just takeaway, challenge, wondering?
Yeah, to Amber's point, and we've said this, I think, for years, but like, we need to have a list of users from the jump. Because we're like playing from behind. And then in order to have an authentic exhibition with a real world something, we need to have somebody that has a need we're trying to solve for. Because if not, it's just like, oh, we're just doing something for fun, and now we gotta like, make it a fun experience, just like the user, the UX experience comes into play. It's like, now we gotta be able to entertain parents instead of like, no, here's a problem we're trying to solve. So it's like, we can make them all like that, but they're not gonna be, if they don't have a user, but we also can't play with behind.
Cause I think that's what makes it a little inauthentic, is when we stick the user in there. Now, what I did like about the astronaut though, was they did all the work and then they said, all right, these last 2 weeks, this is what y'all have to work on, and this will be exhibition. So it came in later, but they had done all the research, learned all the stuff, and then was given a challenge for exhibition. So that way, I think it worked when it came in later. But for most times, I think we need to, we were just talking about her, she was like, why can't we have the kids create Montessori works for other schools? It's like, that'd be great for them to be able to do that. And that's a real world user, but not thinking about it until down stuff.
Cause I'm thinking, right?
Even that, y'all still have.
Later.
Yeah, he came later.
But you knew you wanted. And so I think idea to be.
Yeah, we didn't know what the problem was or anything like that.
Oh, y'all didn't know the problem?
He gave it to us, right? He gave us the problem, the astronaut did.
I worked with one.
Yep,
Yeah.
and that came in at like a couple weeks before the exhibition, I think.
I think it's not a hard find. There are things in the world that we're trying to solve for. We just have to figure out what they are and figure out who those people are.
Would it make it inauthentic if you're like have a problem, like a what if kind of problem, like you're proactively trying to resolve a problem that's not necessarily there, but ultimately it still could have a user that,
I would put that
As a
back to you,
music-
how would that feel to you?
well, I think that would be great, actually. Like, let's say there's an issue, I maybe encounter the issue, I mean, we do it all the time, right? We do, like, for example, intruders. We've never actually done it. We've never have been through it, we've never been a user of it, like, having to experience
Yeah.
that. But do we not want that?
So
But to your point, like, that's a real world issue, other schools have, we haven't, like, so now we're trying to solve another.
Right, I was just giving an example, because there could be other, what if problems out there that people are always trying to eliminate all the issues, all the different problems or creating anything, whether you're creating a video game, you're trying to resolve all the issues.
But there are plenty of
Could you
people,
not create an issue that could potentially be a real issue?
well, there are plenty of people who do like think speculatively and try to solve things. Like, so in the AI world, there are some people who are afraid that one day they'll get too smart and become like some army of robots. And so there are like real people who get paid to research and find solutions to what if they become evil robots? I mean, that's a real thing that people care about. So it hasn't happened yet, but what if it does? Then there are people who research that, so that's a real thing.
But it sounds like that Friday. Now needs to look like. Knowing the topic and then creating or finding the problem or getting to challenges.
So, yeah, that template really would be helpful, like the one that we always turn in.
Yeah, it does really ask that at the beginning, but we always go.
It goes-
We're like,
but it also
"Oh,
goes-
yeah."
It goes right back to what y'all are saying, then the kids come up with all the different, well, what if this, or what if that, and then they're throughout the session.
I love what y'all are saying. I love what you're thinking about. I love the emphasis on Fridays. I love the template. I love the order you're naming, like when this needs to happen. If I were to weigh in as a school head on, is what you're describing inauthentic versus authentic. So in education research, that's called, what you're describing is called design without make, but it's not design thinking. Design without make means it's hypothetical. And you're designing something, but it's not real. And there's research to suggest that learning will happen with that, but not as much learning. If it's real. Real learning, the deepest learning is transfer. It's where you take Bloom's taxonomy and you're creating something where there's not a predictable answer or solution for an actual thing. And it's real. Like that is the deepest learning that can happen. And the question I would pose to y'all, as guides, what if as a part of your identity as a guide, you saw it as your responsibility to be a problem finder and to design around that. That is 21st century teaching and learning. That's my encouragement. If we zoom out here, this is what I did to y'all today. We had a discussion on boredom. Y'all sort of explored your brains about your knowledge of past quests and you thought through different examples. You made revisions to your plans, you shared revisions, you evaluated them against this Hall of Fame status. You reflected on how your thinking has changed, and what I encourage you to submit is, y'all been working on your exhibition plans with Amber, just communicate to her any changes that you've made and she needs to know about. Thank you guys for your enthusiastic participation today, and may we design Hall of Fame exhibitions. Enjoy your evening.